All right, class, let's get going here with our boards. Our topic, once again, organizations and reorganizations of human society, 600 BCE to 600 CE. Our central question, how did the Western empires during this period shape the world? So, in particular, we're going to be talking about Greece this time for these sets of boards. The Greece, 750 BCE to 146 BC. And these are rough estimates. It's kind of hard to say exactly when this empire started to arise, but they do say that the end of the Greek Empire in 146 BC was when the Romans came and took over the peninsula. The location of Greece in the middle, in the eastern Mediterranean with natural harbors, enabled it to trade with numerous other empires. Now Greece was able to arise even though it wasn't along any river valleys, unlike some of the other ones that we've been talking about. Greece was a collection of city-states. The largest were Athens and Sparta, and most of us heard something about Athens and Sparta in the past. Athens was more democratic as well as commercial and a cultural center, whereas Sparta was much more militaristic. Each polis or city-state, remember it wasn't a huge empire like the Persian Empire, it was a city-state. There were numerous city-states that made up the Greek Empire. Each polis had citizens, which were adult males that could vote, free people, they really didn't have political rights, and then non-citizens who were mostly slaves. So those were the three rungs of people in that society. Now, Athens progressed through numerous governments throughout the hundreds of years that passed, the monarchies, aristocracies, and finally a democracy. But only land-owning males were able to vote. Greeks were polytheistic. You had the likes of, many people have heard of Zeus or Apollo. They were rich in detail, and these gods had human characteristics. And we still know about many of these Greek deities today. The Persian Wars from 499 BCE to 449 BCE, about 50 years, was Greece at war with Persia. Persia, the very large empire that we talked about with our last boards, very large empire based out of Babylonia that was moving east and west, taking over much of the Mediterranean, the eastern part of the Mediterranean. Well, they tried to take over Greece and was never successful. The Golden Age of Pericles from 480 BCE to 404 BCE. Athens was rebuilt after the Persian Wars with Greece. The leader Pericles sets up a Delian League with other city-states, and this kind of binds the city-states together, and this, like it says, is the Golden Age of Greece. Pericles wanted to make sure that if they ever had an enemy like Persia attacking again, that they would all unite and come together. Ancient philosophy flourished during this time. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and you might have heard of these gentlemen, all were very present during this time. The arts were also very important. You had Homer's The Iliad and the Odyssey written during this time, Greek dramas dominated by comedies, and tragedies all take place during this time. Now, with most empires, there was trouble in Athens. The Peloponnesian Wars from 431 to 404, Sparta and Athens were starting to fight. Sparta and the city-states associated with Athens go to war. So Sparta had some other city-states that were on their side, and they started to go to war. And these wars lasted quite a long time. Athens was able to hold off Sparta for so long, but then a plague transported through trade from the Middle East, a plague ravaged Athens and weakened Athens. Sparta stopped short of completely destroying Athens, yet was weakened itself. So in the Peloponnesian Wars, Sparta was the winner, and I say winner, they were able to conquer Athens, but then once they did, they probably got the plague themselves and everyone got sick. So Sparta did recognize the great cultural wealth that Athens had to offer, And so they didn't, go in there and like burn it completely to the ground like the Romans did to Carthage, as we'll talk about in our next boards. Now, the Macedonians from the northern Peloponnesian Peninsula under the rule of King Philip II was able to conquer the region. So the Macedonians, which like I said, a little bit farther north, they came in and conquered both Sparta and Athens. King Philip II died young, and his son, Alexander the Great, and many people have heard of Alexander the Great, who was taught by Aristotle, he had the best education, learned military tactics from his father, and wanted a little payback against the Persians from years of past war, and conquered a huge area of Southwest Asia. So Alexander the Great, once he conquered continuing on in his father's footsteps, after conquering all of the Peloponnesian Peninsula, he went on to conquer places like present-day Syria and Israel, and then he moved farther south and into Egypt. And then he started taking it to the Persians, who had ravaged Greece in the past. When he was able to spread all the way to the east, all the way into India, he was able to spread Hellenism, which is cultural ideas and patterns of life of classical Greeks, spread far from its origins. So Hellenism, through the conquering of Alexander the Great, was able to spread all throughout the Middle East and Southwest Asia. And this is huge because in the Dark Ages of the when the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages took place, and the majority of the people were not very educated, the ideas of Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates were able to remain alive in the culture of the people from the Middle East. Three Hellenistic empires of Athens, Corinth, and Alexandria thrived with trade and education. Unfortunately, Alexander the Great, at the age of 33, got tuberculosis or something, and he died before even making his way all the way back to Greece. Some say he died, in like Egypt. Some say he died more in like Afghanistan, Iran. They're just unsure because it's such a long time ago. But nevertheless, Hellenism spread, and that's the key part to this part. So remember, history is no mystery. Take good notes.